Okay.
We're doing it the last episode.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional.
Honestly, I'm gonna be a little sad.
Okay, so we're doing this last episode and then we're doing a tier list. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, guys, I forgot to tell you that I was gonna have someone join us today.
Is this actually real? Oh my god, that's great.
Chase!
I have Chase on for our last episode.
Amazing!
Really? That's
What a
great.
surprise!
What a fun
Hey, guys.
surprise.
Happy Halloween!
Hello everyone, welcome back to Cinema Symposium. We are doing our last episode of our 31 Days of Halloween with Halloween. But before we get into the review, I'd like to reintroduce a guest who is with us for our Madagascar Escape to Africa review. And it's Chase. What's up, man? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Let me introduce myself. I'm Chase, and if you've been following the series, I was on the Madagascar Escape to Africa episode, and I'm excited to talk about this movie with these guys today. It's a little bit of a lighter topic than last time, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, let's get into it.
Halloween 1978. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again. Directed, written, and composed by John Carpenter. Guy does a lot. Chase, would you also like to start us off with your first thoughts?
This was my first time seeing this movie. Obviously, it's kind of a staple of the Halloween, like, spooky genre, I guess. Michael Myers is one of those legendary Halloween characters. So I was really excited to jump into this movie and see what it was all about. I don't know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I was not a huge fan. I think the music's really good. I think the score is really well done. I think he did a really good job with the score. Otherwise, I'm not sure that I loved this movie. I don't know. I felt like it was very slow-paced without much of a payoff for it. That was disappointing for me. I was really hoping there would be a bigger payoff for everything, and I felt kind of underwhelmed walking away from it.
That's how we all feel about this entire 31-day series.
All of our fans, everyone.
Chase, we're supposed to be reviewing Halloween.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was the 31 days of Halloween. I'm so sorry.
I felt like it didn't really lead up to anything.
I really
it seemed like I really wanted it to be good.
I really hated that Jordan character. Did nothing the entire time.
The music was great, but other than that,
You know,
trash,
Michael-
total trash.
That whole Michael character is supposed to be really compelling. Turns out he's just kind of creepy.
I remember seeing a man like him outside my elementary school when I was a kid.
But not in the fun Michael Myers kind of way, but kind of the creepy.
Not Michael Myers, just Michael Petty.
Doc said Michael Myers.
This is Mike Myers.
It should be the Halloween mask.
This is a Halloween mask.
No, the killer dude from Halloween.
Oh, you mean Jason?
No!
I have to agree with Chase. In a lot of ways, this was also my first time seeing it. And there were things I liked about this movie. In particular, I liked the way the story was told. I think the build-up to the finale was very good. I liked the intro a lot, actually, with the reveal of Michael being just a little kid. Having not seen this movie or not been familiar with the lore at all, that took me completely by surprise. And yeah, kind of the slow burn and leading to the finale and that moment where Jamie Lee Curtis sees all her friends dead in the same room. I like that moment worked really well for me. So there were things in terms of just straight storytelling that worked for me in this movie, but like, I did not find Michael Myers as a villain that compelling at all. Even putting aside sort of the poor portrayal of mental health that the character sort of inherently has. I mean, just it's hard to tell if he's supposed to be like just deranged and sociopathic, but yet everything he does seems to have so much theatrics to it, even though he's supposed to be just this like bland, emotionless kind of character. And then he seems to have like supernatural powers, and that he just appears and disappears, and all these things. He was just such a muddled character that it was hard for me to get behind him because they didn't stick to any one sort of type of villain with him. They tried to do everything, and it didn't really work for me.
He could have had such a higher success rate if he was willing to move fast, okay? Like, I've never seen a man intentionally move so slow in order to kill someone. And I don't know. There's so much about him as a character, like Nathaniel said, where I'm just like, what? I'm so confused by it. Like, is he a supernatural being? Because that dude is a bullet sponge and a knife sponge. Yeah. Like, he gets shot like 4 times. Stabbed 3 times. And
as slowly as he moves, he does the thing, like the Batman thing, where someone will see him, look away, and then he's just gone.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to keep him out, and here he's as stubborn as you are.
I'd like to see him stumble into like the horror trope where his car doesn't start. like someone towards me, he's like struggling to get us like.
That's the thing, is you talk about him walking slowly. I think he kind of has to, because he would look so ridiculous doing anything else. Seeing him run through a yard would make him look so stupid.
Like a slight jog.
Or just like seeing him like stuck in a corner, like he thought there was a door there, and just with that mask, he looked so ridiculous. So, I probably liked this movie most out of all of us. This is my second time seeing it. I was not a fan at all my first time seeing it. But I'd heard several people talk about how you're probably not going to like this movie if you go in expecting it to be a horror movie. And that it's not good at being scary as much as it is good at being good, and the way it does what it does. And I really think what's interesting about this film versus all the other classic horror slasher movies of the same genre is that it's kind of a photo negative. In the sense that when we look at Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, or mainly those two primarily, the potential we place onto these movies isn't in the individual film, but rather the potential of the characters. We don't care that much for the actual movie of Friday the 13th, but rather the potential that Jason can have as a character, or the potential that Freddy can have as a character, where they can do and where they can go with those characters. And I think the best way you could look at this film is as the exact opposite of that. I think this film serves itself so much more as an individual story. And I think the closest times it has to really fumbling is when it tries to turn Michael Myers into a horror icon, which I don't think he should be. I think the first half of the film is actually much more interesting and compelling than the second half. I think it's really interesting having the sort of legend of Michael Myers stalking you and you don't even really know it. Mm-hmm. I found myself in several scenes when a character walks around a corner expecting him to be there, or expecting him to be behind a door, or behind someone in a scene. There'll be brief moments. It's usually, the subtlety doesn't last long, but where you'll see characters driving and you'll see the car following behind them, and it doesn't necessarily focus on the car, but you still see it. And there's several just really great shots, scenes that, again, as Jay said, that don't really have a ton of payoff, but I do really appreciate the way that they're presented, even though what's happening there isn't necessarily as wildly creative or stylish as, say, Nightmare on Elm Street or Texas Chainsaw. The way it is presented is very interesting. Again, I think the biggest issue is with Michael Myers, the way they portray Michael Myers himself as a character. It makes no sense whatsoever. He killed one person when he was young, and they treat him like he is the #1 criminal in America. Like, there is a specific detective who's committed his entire life to this one guy who killed one person.
I walked away believing that this is in an alternate reality where crime just doesn't happen.
This is like this is the first murder.
Yeah, this is like the first murder that America's ever seen. They're like, this guy needs to go away for life. Holy cow.
Like, that's what they treat it like. They treat it as though violent mental illness doesn't exist. And this is the first time it's ever. He's like, I've spent my entire life with this guy. I've just sat in a room and looked at him and just watched how he's looked through the walls waiting for this night. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're crazier than he is. I definitely feel like the film does its greatest disservice in really trying to make Michael Myers seem like this huge paranormal entity when objectively, canonically, at this point, he is not. He is a boy who spent like 8 or 9 years out of prison, and the rest of his life. I'm sorry, one second. I just feel like there's all this hype built up around Michael Myers as a character. They kind of want him to be more than he is too. Like choose one or the other. Either make him a grounded, realistic enemy that represents something you could face in your day-to-day life, or give him like 3 heads and make him fly and teleport and have, you know, a cannon for an arm. Like, either be fun and fantastical with him and make him a memorable supernatural villain, or make him a very realistic, plausible villain that could exist. But Michael Myers, in the way that we see him, is not a character that could feasibly exist. So if he's going to be a very fictional character, make him a more interesting one with more interesting kills.
It says a lot, too, that the character defies so much logic in the first film. Like, it's one thing with, like, Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, where they're written pretty well in the first one, and they just devolve into later movies. But the fact that the character seems to kind of devolve out of this realism even by the end of his first film, I think says a lot about the character as well.
So this is also my second time seeing it. I really didn't like the movie the first time. I didn't like the 2018 just like soft reboot sequel. Since then, I've had time to like talk with people who really, really love this movie and kind of grew up finding it scary and actually seeing like why it's a like going in with a mindset of those people that really like it, like actually having their opinion on it. And I actually enjoyed it a lot more this time. It succeeded in a lot more ways than I thought it did since my first time seeing it. And I think that just comes with seeing it a second time. Whether or not you feel led to watching it a second time is really up to you. But you see how it became the classic that it is. You see why people actually find this guy creepy. I personally don't find it super scary. There were some things that this time I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty scary scene. I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I think it's really well done. I like the music in it. I liked the direction that it takes sometimes.
I think there were genuinely creepy moments with Michael Myers. There were moments where, you know, they're about to turn a corner, they're about to open a door, and I did genuinely feel suspense, expecting to see Michael just around the corner. That being said, I think just at a certain point, I was getting more frustrated with the fact he wasn't showing up half those places. He felt fairly underutilized, I felt. And I don't know, maybe this just isn't my kind of movie, but I felt like for such an iconic character and for someone that is supposed to be the main antagonist, he really doesn't do a whole lot. And I'm not saying that a villain has to have a lot of screen time, but it's how you use their screen time. And I felt like they didn't really use his to the best of their ability.
I enjoyed this movie a lot more my second time around. We've been bashing on it a lot more than praising it, because it is definitely easier to be annoyed with the flaws than impressed by its strengths. But there are definitely strengths there. There are definitely moments that I think are very well done. There are scenes I think are very well shot that make Michael Myers a much better antagonist than he actually is. There are scenes of suspense, and as I said, I actually find the first half of the film much more compelling than the second half. I mean, there's definitely a lot to enjoy here. I'm honestly surprised that this film isn't any more divisive than it is. I'm definitely surprised that, like, most people I talk to, besides you guys, have really enjoyed it point blank and haven't had that sort of complexity with it. Because you expect there would be. And because of that, I definitely will say it's very possible you could be disappointed by this movie your first time seeing it, or every time seeing it. But I do think it's definitely worth being able to have your own opinion on and see what you think about it and see how that opinion evolves over time.
I totally understand where both Nathaniel and Chase are coming from, because that's definitely where I was. But overall, I did enjoy it a lot more this time. I think that it's definitely important for its time. I'm glad that it kickstarted John Carpenter's career, since like I mentioned at the beginning, he's a multi-talented guy. I recommend this to people who are looking to watch the initial Halloween film. I understand why it's important to this specific genre of slasher film.
I could see where, upon later viewings, there may be other things I appreciate in this film, and like I think we said, there's definitely things with like moments in the film that provide suspense and storytelling that provides suspense that give this film like that make this film good, there's definitely gems within this film. It is just a shame that the antagonist, which is usually the antagonist, is kind of the centerpiece of films in this genre. It's a shame that he's not as well developed as he could be. So in terms of all the sort of the classic slashers we've seen in the classic horror franchises we've seen in the series. This might be close to the bottom for me, but I definitely see where people who like it, what there is to like about it. So I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend it or not recommend it, but I think if you're interested in this genre and exploring it, it's a good film to see and sort of see what you think about it yourself.
I would agree. I think I would recommend this movie to people who haven't seen it. You know, I think there is something to be said for it. I think it does do things really well, and it is an iconic movie. Michael Myers is an iconic character, and I think you can have a good time with it. I look forward to my second viewing of it, because I think now that I know what to expect, I can kind of focus more on the good of the movie and walk away with a better appreciation for it. But yeah, currently where I stand on it, it's fine. It's disappointing in a lot of ways. It's not bad. It's just mediocre in my mind, I think. I don't know. I hope maybe in the future I'll feel differently, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You want to play some hockey?
So that is the end of our review. Thank you so much, Chase, for coming back again and surprising both Nathaniel and Michael. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not an overly spooky guy, but you can find me on Instagram at Chase Connery, just my name. I just post a lot of pictures of me and my wife and coffee. That's pretty much it. And yeah, I hope to be on future episodes with these guys, or maybe, I'll replace Michael when he inevitably dies of a nosebleed. So
Yeah, you did now.
So yeah, that is the end of our 31 days of Halloween. It's been fun. We finally we did it. Yay! Woo! Woo! So yeah, thank you so much to those who were actually able to watch all 31, or were able to jump around. Like, and just picking and choosing ones that you thought were going to be interesting to watch. Yeah, like and subscribe, and come back for whatever we have planned next. We're really excited to continue doing something. I don't know.
Is this where you're going to reveal the 365 days of Halloween? Actually not ending. Come back tomorrow for Halloween 2.
But yeah, no, I don't know how to close this out. Just...
Bye.
Yeah, that works too. We'll see you guys all whenever we come back then.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
you.
I love you. I love you.
Aw.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.